Gentlelady's time has expired. Chair now recognizes Ms. Stansbury from New Mexico for 5.
Thank you. I'd like to get right into some basic vetting questions, as unfortunately our colleagues across the aisle failed to do so with some of the previous witnesses that they called. And so, Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Shapley, I'm hoping that these are very simple, very straightforward questions, so I'd like to ask that you answer them with a yes or no answer. Mr. Shapley, are you now or have you ever acted as an unregistered foreign agent for the Chinese government or for any other government?
No.
And Mr. Ziegler, are you now or have you ever acted as an unregistered or registered foreign agent?
No.
And Mr. Shapley, have you ever participated in illegal arms trafficking?
No, I have not.
And Mr. Ziegler, how about yourself?
I have not.
And finally, Mr. Shapley, have you ever been indicted of a crime, lied to investigators while under oath, or run from the law?
No, I have not.
And Mr. Ziegler, same question to you. Have you ever been indicted, lied to investigators, or run from the law?
I have not.
Thank you for answering those questions. Obviously, it would seem strange to have to ask these clarifying questions, but given the majority's track record in calling witnesses on this matter, not to mention their own presidential candidate, it seemed necessary to clarify for our American folks who are listening today. So let's get into the kinds of crimes that the majority claims that they're interested in investigating here in the Oversight Committee, namely political influence, abuse of power, and other alleged crimes by a president and their relations. And again, because our time is limited, I'd like to ask our witnesses to stick with very simple, straightforward yes and no answers. Now, Mr. Ziegler, you are aware that Mr. Jared Kushner received a $2 billion investment from the Saudi government after working for his father-in-law at the White House, correct?
Congressman, I thank you for the question. I'm here to talk about the Hunter Biden investigation.
It is a widely known fact, and I appreciate your response. Mr. Ziegler, you are aware that while serving as a senior advisor to her father, Ivanka Trump had a number of trademarks fast-tracked by the Chinese government, correct?
Again, I have to stick to the confines of my transcript.
I appreciate that. And finally, I want to remind everyone that the person who appointed U.S. Attorney General David Weiss to handle the matter that we're here to discuss today was Donald Trump. But this would be the same president, Donald Trump, the man twice impeached for abuses of power and, of course, recently indicted for 37 counts of criminal activity. Now, one would think that here in the Oversight Committee, we would want to investigate such blatant acts of criminal activity, and I truly could not agree more with our witness, Mr. Shapley, that there should not be a two-tiered system of justice for those who are powerful and those who are wealthy and those who are not. But that is not actually what this hearing is about here today, because it's clear that this is yet another attempt by the majority to turn this committee into another in-kind donation to the Trump campaign. Now, this follows on an earlier attempt this past month to undermine the FBI with a controversial markup, which thankfully did not occur, the very same day that Donald Trump was indicted under those 37 counts. In fact, if you look across the aisle, we have 13 members who have already endorsed Donald Trump. And now here we are trying to distract the American people once more, even though it was a political appointee appointed by Donald Trump, who was at the helm of this effort when the issues we are discussing today occurred. And yet we're using the committee's resources to advance this agenda. But I think it's important that the American people actually understand that the real criminal and the actual threat to our democratic institutions is Donald Trump, the man found legally liable for sexual abuse, the man who refused to return classified documents to the government, the man who was inciting an insurrection that led to the deaths of 5 people and threatened the lives of people in this very room, and who threatened the very foundation of our democracy. So I find it hard to believe that members who witnessed the insurrection, who have witnessed these criminal indictments, continue to to stand here today with Donald Trump and prop him up using committee resources. And I urge my colleagues to take a hard look in the mirror and to really reflect on what our oath of office means. And with that, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields. Chair now recognizes Mr. Higgins.